Yo, what's up? This is 49ers Coast to Coast. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Jason Aponte, and we're playing a game today. We always have to talk about the 49ers starting quarterback. We don't always want to talk about the 49ers starting quarterback, and we're kind of OD'd on it. So the game is we can't say his name today. We're allowed to talk about him because you can't avoid it sometimes, but you cannot say the first name, the last name, initials, nicknames, none of it. And if you do, you lose, and everyone gets to point and laugh at you. Otherwise, it's going to be a normal show talking about Niners. Jason, how you doing? Good to have you on.
I'm great, Grant. Thank you for having me, man. This sounds like fun.
It sounds like something a rule we should have instituted a long time ago. It's the Harry Potter Voldemort rule. He who must not be named. Let's start with my little thing with Joe Montana yesterday.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
His
really
people
cool.
reached out to me. I felt really lucky and fortunate. He's the CSO, the Chief Strategy Officer of the Fan-Controlled Football League, which sounds actually really cool. I've always liked an idea of a 7-on-7 spring league. And this one, like fans, like it's like fantasy football. Like there's like a draft every week and fans get to decide who's on which team. That's kind of cool. Johnny Manziel's in it, which is kind of cool. Anyway.
Josh Gordon too, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Richard Sherman is a part owner of a team. Marshawn Lynch is a part owner. It seems like awesome. A good idea. Anyway, so when I was done talking to Joe about that, I asked him a couple of questions about he who must not be named. And on the record, no hesitation. He's like, yeah, they should probably move on. You know, he's fine when he's on the field. He's just not on the field enough. They should get someone young. And it's just, I mean, obviously it didn't set the world on fire, but locally, Jimmy must know that, I did it. Okay, yep, I'm down 1 point. I got 1 point. Let's keep score because I think you're going to have one too. I just said his name. Okay, 1-0. You're winning. I have -1. Hey, I didn't last long. Okay. All right. So it seems to me that he's like, he hears it like, wow, Joe Montana wrote me off. Does that change anything? The fact that Joe Montana said it, or do kids not even know who Joe Montana is anymore?
You know, honestly, a lot of what he, when you first presented, the quote, I won't lie, that really took me back, right? Him saying that, about, what was the word about, young
and vivacious?
Yeah, vivacious. That's the word I was looking for, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at that quote, you look at it and you're like, man, he really he went off on a tangent. Really, honestly, though, he kind of played both sides in the entire quote, right? Like he lined it up with, and he prefaced it with, when healthy, things like that. I felt like the most telling thing from there, the thing that I really grabbed from it, was his just complete opposition of giving the quarterback, that was close. The quarterback, that money after 5 games.
Yes.
That's the part that I really walked away with it from, because he said, hey, man, how much was it? 5 games, 7 games started, something like that. He goes, that's a lot, to do that. He goes, and he seemed really bothered by that idea more than, everything else that was there. So I really took that quote as the one that I was like, man, he was really against it. I don't know. It's revisionist history on my part to say that I didn't agree with it then, because that's not true. That's not true, right? Like, the quarterback comes in, they win a bunch of games, and I'm excited, and I'm like, yeah, bring him in. He looks like the guy, right? He wins these games. He beat a team that wound up going to the AFC Championship that year. There was an electricity around the stadium, so it would be wrong of me to act like I didn't think that was the right thing to do then. I'm just wondering whether Joe felt that way then, or if now all of a sudden it's come to like, well, why did you give him all that at that time? It would be revisionist history, and it would be wrong on my part to sit here and act like I wasn't cool with it. But that was the quote that I really took away from that, where I was just like, man, did he really mean that? Or was that something that he just came across now? And did he mean it then?
It's a good question. If you go back to the quote, you can see he says, I tried to tell him. He actually said, I tried to tell him, like, there's no track record of quarterbacks who were groomed under Hall of Famers who left and became great other places. Of course, there's Rodgers and Steve Young. They stayed and basically pushed out their
right. You don't get
rid of they were backing up. You don't.
The part that I think you said, or it was something. It was on one of your shows that I thought was really telling. Was you don't move the backup if he's the man. Yeah. You move the guy in front of him if he's the man, right? And I thought that was really a good quote by a good statement by you, honestly.
And I think that's what Joe was trying to point out. Like this guy, the guy we're not going to name, got all of this money because of 5 starts and Tom Brady's reputation. it's like, well, he must have been learned from the best in the world. 3 years on the bench in New England, and now he comes to San Francisco, who stinks and wins 5 games. I've seen enough. $137 million. And from Joe Montana's perspective, the greatest quarterback of all time, he's like, man, I had to do a whole lot more to get money in my life, and I still never got $100 million. I mean, he's still working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know? I mean, that was the quote that really just stuck out to me. Honestly, everything else is pretty much everything that's been said. I don't want to, continue to say, hey, well, look, we've been saying that, you guys know, what has been said, and things like that. And I just thought that was the one that I really, when I heard that quote, I was like, man, that one, he seemed really, that one was the one that he really seemed a little charged up about when he was speaking.
The money. Yeah. I just feel like, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, all, writers, people can have the Niners back and try to pump up this quarterback's trade value and say the Niners can win with him. He has a good record. He's not as bad as people say. People need to calm down. Once Joe Montana says it, that's it. I don't think that it's hard to go against the person who built your franchise for that long. I mean, he built the franchise. And once he's given up on you, dude, I mean, all right, you have a little more time, but
Joe knows a little something about playing quarterback. And also, he's kind of had to deal with this as well, too. You alluded to the Steve Young thing, right? And one of the quotes, which this wasn't on your show, I believe it was on First Take. Well, the 49ers didn't tell me they were trading me, but you knew he heard that. You know that he had heard those things, right? But again, the situations between the quarterback and Brady and Joe and Steve, those aren't parallels, right? Those aren't the same things, right? Again, what the 49ers saw when they had Joe was, we've got a guy who's ready to go. Steve, we're not going to trade him.
Right.
We're trading you.
Sorry, Joe. And Joe was like, what, 33? I mean, he wasn't even that old.
No.
Sorry, Joe.
And he went on to succeed, right? Like he took the Kansas City Chiefs to an AFC Championship game, right? And he even got his little measure of revenge in '94, because I am old enough to remember that. There was a Week 3 matchup. You can tell Joe was fired up to win that game. So it's just, what I really took from it is, one, the business side of it, because when Joe Montana is telling you, I didn't know I was going to be traded, things like that, right? That just means that people, things move and things are fluid and things like that. And then, that part about just giving the money after 5 games, I thought that those were the 2 things that really, really stood out to me when it came to his points.
The other thing is, I remember Alex Smith, he did that interview a few years ago. It's been circling recently. He said, when Jerry Rice said it was time to move on from me, that really hurt. And he was like, I look forward to the away games more than the home games. When a franchise legend says, we're done with you, that's always got to hurt. Like if Ray Lewis were to say something like that about Lamar Jackson, he would hear it, and that would affect him. That's a lot, and I don't think Ray Lewis would say that. He's like, no. For Joe to go on the record and just kind of say it without even thinking, like, ooh, that would hurt my feelings if I were that quarterback. I mean, that quarterback and Joe were in the same commercial together, and they even clowned on him in the commercial, like, get my bags.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Joe reaches out to you, right? And let's just say, your reputation precedes you, right? He didn't seem like he was worried about, mincing words, like
setting the 49ers, none of that.
Right. Like, I think he knew what he was doing by going to you, because you would just take it and just say, hey, here it is. This is what he said, right? No sugarcoating, anything like that. This is exactly what he said, because you posted and I think that it's important that you posted the full clip, right? The full clip is going to give you the full scope, because it's true. You can take one word, take, one line and twist it to whatever you want. But, when you listen to the whole conversation and you listen to everything that he said, he played both sides of it. He talked about, he said his good things. It's just those two little nuggets were the ones that I took from it. I was like, maybe I need to think on this a little bit more.